video was sponsored by
Nothing beats being here in person, meeting face to face, and having that energy and that experience live.
What I love about apartments is really the cash flow.
You only have the one building, you only have the one property manager, but yet you have several doors.
I thought you had to have a big bankroll behind you in order to be able to do it. And what I've learned from Whitney and Jason is that that's just not the case.
You can do this, anyone can do this.
It's made me so much more confident as an investor because she's there when I need her for anything.
This is the course designed for ladies just like you to help you move from houses into the lazy lady landlord lifestyle of apartments, which is a lot more money. It equals a lot more fun.
All right, tonight my handsome husband is here with us to talk all about apartments. All right, so all month, you know, we've been talking about multifamily investing. We've been talking about multi-units, multi-tenants. We've talked about some of the basics, all from my perspective. Tonight, we're going to get all of that from his perspective and talking about, you know, why he prefers multifamily investing, why I prefer single family residences. We'll talk about some of the differences and things, but without further ado, this is my husband, Jason East, and you want to say hi?
Hi.
He's not quiet, and he's not shy, okay? So don't let him fool y'all. He'll get warmed up here in a minute.
I usually don't get a word in edgewise, so.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to talk about?
All right, let's talk about multifamily versus single family investing. What are the differences?
First thing we got to talk about is definition, right? So depending on who you're talking to, that definition can be a little bit different, all right? So if you're talking to a lender or a bank, generally the way they're going to view that is they're going to view anything 5 units or more is going to be considered multifamily. It'll be a commercial type loan versus, if you go out and buy a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex, most of the times the banks will give you a traditional loan very similar to the requirements, specifications, and things like that for single family. So if you're talking to a bank, generally they're going to say, multifamily is 5 or more units. It shares common roof lines, common walls, things like that, right? So that's generally what they're talking about. Me as an investor, I'm going to be honest with you, anything more than a single family residence, I use the same tactics and analytics to, look at my deals and the same
Not the
ratios.
analytics,
and
please, anything but
like
the
that.
analytics. So, oh my gosh.
Just kind of depends on who you're talking to, as
Give
to
me
what
the
that
basics
is.
though. What's the difference between single family and multifamily? And we've talked about the different numbers. What's the money difference?
There's a few things. Number one is, apartments are much easier to scale. If you want a portfolio of rental properties, how easy is it to go out and find one person that has 100 houses, single family houses to sell?
I only know, of all the investors I only know one dude with 100 houses.
So it's possible, right? People own huge portfolios, and as they pass away, somebody may be looking to sell the whole
he don't have any
deal,
kids.
or they may be looking to sell off half of them. So it does happen, but for the most part, people buy single family residences one at a time, right? So and they build a portfolio over time. If your goal is to get in and hit with a bang, and you want 100 units, that could be one apartment complex.
Bingo!
That could be 250 unit complexes, right? So it's much easier to scale
Or
if
go
you
big.
Want, a lot of units. Okay, so that's one thing that's easier there. Another thing that's very different is single family residences are, you value them based on comparables, right?
Comps.
Who likes comps?
I don't like comps.
I hate
Don't
comps.
compare me to anybody,
Okay.
and don't talk about my competition. I don't like comps. in
One
any
of the
way.
things about multifamily is multifamily properties are valued based on the income that they produce. So
Say that
there's-
again.
Multifamily units are valued based on the income.
So it doesn't
that they
matter what
produce.
my neighbor down the street?
No, it's great. It's like a business, right? I mean, you value it using some of the same ratios, right? Things that are foreign to, if you ask a residential real estate agent, what's a cap rate?
They have no idea.
A lot of them don't have an idea. You know why?
Honestly, how many commercial agents actually really know what a cap rate is?
They know the definition, know how to plug it into their little software and have it calculated.
But it's still so variable. What does the cap rate mean? I went on a whole rampage about the cap rate being crap.
So basically, in layman's term, what the cap rate is, it tells you what your rate of return would be if you stroked a check and paid all cash for the property.
But based on that, you have to talk about the net operating income, and that depends on the expenses, which may or may not be flubbed, which may or may not include property management, which may or may not include electric, which maybe they forgot that they haven't had the place sprayed for bugs, and then it just throws everything off, and I hate the cap rate.
Well, in order to calculate the cap rate, like you said, you got to know GPI, you've got to know NOI, you've got to know your operating expense ratio. And then once you get cap rate, we hadn't even talked about the bank's going to require you to know debt service coverage ratio.
You're getting too deep.
You're going to need to know break-even ratio.
Stop.
You're going to need to know cash-on-cash returns.
We're talking about the basics. We were talking about the valuation, and we were talking about just brokers knowing what the cap rate was. So go back to that.
Okay, sorry, I got carried away. I like the analytics, so sorry about that. Anyway, all right, so back to the deal here. So we talked about the vocabulary is a little bit different. The way we
vocabulary is totally different.
So let's take a single family home. You buy a single family home in a neighborhood. If I go to sell that home, guess what? Chances are I'm at the mercy of what's happening with other people in the area around me, right? That's where they're going to get their comps from. So if values have stayed flat, chances are my odds of selling are going to be, staying flat as well, right? I mean, that's just kind of the way the game goes. Have you ever got a contract on a house and the people agreed to the purchase price, and then guess what?
It fell apart at closing?
The dadgum thing didn't appraise for the purchase price, right? I know I've had that happen several times, and that's a terrible feeling. You're like, I got somebody that wants to pay this for it. Oh, yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah. The first house I sold of his.
the first one, you notice that.
I wasn't living in that house.
Sorry.
Anyway, the valuation is different. It's not based on what the neighborhood sold for. It's based on what the property brings in.
Absolutely. So, for easy math, let's say I buy a complex and I'm getting $500 a month rent. Let's say there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just a little bit dated, right? Maybe it's still got wallpaper in the bathrooms and it's still got, paneling in the living room, and it's structurally sound, but it's outdated. So we're only getting $500 a month for this thing. All right. If I go in and rehab this, and now I'm getting $800 a month, I have now, and I had to spend some money to do that, right? But I have increased the value of my property because now, guess what? On an income-based approach, I am getting $800 a month.
$300 more than what you were getting.
Absolutely, per unit.
Times 10.
So I am in control of the value of my property if I want to go sell that, right? Because I'm going to rehab it. I'm going to get tenants in it that are willing to pay me $800 a month. I'm going to get about 18 to 24 months of rental history showing that it produces that. And then I'm going to go sell this puppy, do a 1031 exchange, and get me something bigger and better.
We're talking about 1031 exchanges next month, so don't get too far ahead of me. But let's talk about, you said $300 more per month times the number of units, and I just said 10, like we were getting 10 units. When we look at apartments, how many apartments are we looking at? What?
People look at different stuff. I generally look for anything that's 50 units or less, and I'll tell you why I do that.
I want 25 units, 24, 26 units or less.
There are a lot of people out there right now that are invested in multifamily apartments and things like that.
The big guys.
There's all kinds of automated software that as soon as, things hit the internet or whatever. Their software grabs them. It does the analysis real quick. It runs it through. If it makes the minimums on the ratios or whatever, it automatically generates an emails an LOI. Okay, so generally there's not a lot of competition out there for the smaller ones, so that's why I prefer it. Now that's just me and Whitney and what we do individually. Now we're part of some groups that invest and deal with much larger things like that, but us personally, just what we do through our parent company that we have, we tend to focus on that. Now like I said, we contribute, help, partner with, invest in pieces for bigger deals. But to get started and things like that, you want to start smaller, and there's a lot less competition out there when we're dealing with, generally 50 or less units.
Another reason that we like the smaller number of units per complex, per apartment complex, is I like to deal with mom and pa sellers. When I buy houses, I'm not dealing with any agents anytime. And you're more likely to find a 20 unit complex that doesn't have an agent. If you're looking at 200 units, there's no chance in the world that thing's not going to be listed with an agent. So even though I am an agent, I just don't like playing with them. And on the smaller units, if you do get mom and pa that want to sell theirs, they're more inclined to finance it for you, so you don't have to go to the bank. And that's my whole little thing, right? Owner financing, lease options, master lease options, doing different things. So the smaller units fit my goals. They don't have to fit your goals. They don't even have to fit his. But I like 24 units or less. And those complexes, like Jason said, don't have as much competition. And they're usually owned by somebody local that I can actually go and talk to and say, hey, how about you finance this for me?
Another thing I like with multifamily too is, maintenance costs are generally lower, because I've got, a number of units that are sharing one roof, right? So it's not like, if a hailstorm comes through and everything, I've got a $10,000 expense per unit, right? Because we some of them share roofs and things like that. The other thing is, we talked about rehab a little bit earlier. What happens when you buy a distressed single-family home?
You have to fix it?
Yeah, and generally you don't have people renting your house while you're fixing it, right? That just doesn't happen. With multifamily, let's say I got 10 or 15 units, and I mentioned earlier I wanted to buy it and fix it up. I don't have to kick everybody out and do the work at one time. What happens with this deal is I can do it gradually. And the beauty of that is, as I'm doing this gradually, then once I get those upgraded, I put somebody in that's willing to pay that higher rent. It's going to help me pay myself back on the rehab cost that much sooner, right? So it's a gradual effort, and over a period of time, as the leases expire, and then I take a couple of months to rehab, next thing you know, I've turned over all my units, and now all 10, 15, 20, however many we have are finally rehabbed. And I've had some other additional incremental cash coming in over that period to help offset some of that burden of those rehab costs. So that's a beautiful thing. Now, to be fair, people ask me all the time, they say, well, Jason, I know you love apartment investing, but I know Whitney still does a ton of single family stuff. If apartments are as great as you say it is, and you're so excited about them and stuff, why in the world would anybody invest in anything but apartments,
Good
right?
question.
Why would you do that?
Good question.
And I am kind of like a financial advisor would tell you, I guess. A financial advisor is going to tell you, don't put all of your eggs in one basket, right? Because it's all about risk, and it's all about, timing and what you need. Whereas, a young person out of college, they'll advise them to be much more risky than they are, somebody that's 58 and they're looking to retire in 4 years. So, I am a big believer in that, because as cycles go through the market, there's good and bad things about having both. When the housing crisis started in late 2007 and, was really in full swing in late 2008 and 2009, a lot of people were forced out of their homes either involuntarily, or some people just threw up their hands and walked away and said, I've lost so much value, I just don't care anymore. Those people had to go somewhere, and guess what? There's not a lot of places you can go and buy another home when you've just had to foreclose or walk away from the one you were in, right? It takes a hit on you. So, in general, as the housing market a lot of time goes down and single family vacancy rates go up, guess what happens to rent with multifamily? There's a bigger demand, and a lot of times there's a shortage of multifamily, and those rents actually go up. So, it's a balancing act, and if you have a healthy dose of one, benefit in one hand may help offset a little bit of heartache or hurt in the other. So it's about being well balanced, understanding the market, understand how those balances happen, but that can be a very, very, very positive thing for your real estate portfolio.
Another thing, you mentioned my houses. I have the houses with my brother. I've got the apartments with my husband. So I'm a partner on both of those companies. But my brother and I have our starter kit in houses. Jason and I have our starter kit in apartments. So there for a while, I was on a buying frenzy. I was just buying and buying and buying and buying and buying. And for the last year or so, I've been on a pay off kind of thing. And going into this year and next year, we're going to be in a pay off thing, because I talk a lot about finding sellers, because that's the hardest part. Once you get the property, it's a lot, you got different options, okay? But I've got a starter kit of houses, I've got a starter kit of apartments. When I can get those paid off, I can borrow against them, and then I can buy more apartments. So when I get my houses paid off, which I think I have 8 of them, 8 of the 13 paid off now, I can borrow against them to put down on apartment complexes. So I'm not really in a house buying mode. I take that back. I would like a beach house or a lake house or like a vacation rental house. I'll still buy those. But I'm not in like an investment house buying thing. I'm going to leverage what I got to buy more apartments. When we get our apartments paid off, we're going to leverage what we have there to buy more apartments, or to do a 1031 exchange like Jason started to talk about, but we'll get to next month, because that's a whole different thing in and of itself. But yes, I have houses. Yes, I have apartments. The plan is to buy more apartments in the future.
So, the bottom line is both are great, but they are two totally different ball games.
And
right?
It's totally different words and totally different formulas and totally different brain capacities and totally different people and paperwork and all the things. And luckily for you, we cover all of the things, all of the due diligence, all of the paperwork, all of the hiccups, all of that stuff in Apartment Blitz. All right, Apartment Blitz is our program that we came out with, and it is everything you need to start a $20,000 passive income stream in what, less than a year?
Absolutely.
Leslie went from 0 investments to owning 35 units in less than 12 months. And Leslie went through Apartment Blitz. She was in my mastermind, but she was one of the first people that came into Apartment Blitz to learn how to set up commercial real estate deals, because it's totally different than houses. Totally different. So if you want more information about Apartment Blitz, go to apartmentblitz.com. And also, I'll tell you that when this video comes out, we will have recorded Apartment Blitz 2.0. All right, in 2018, we recorded for 3 days a lot of vocabulary, a lot of stories, a lot of foundation, a lot of the basics that you need to get started in commercial real estate. And by the time this video comes out, we will have recorded the actual how to get it done. All right, one thing that people always say is, how do I analyze the deals? How do I know if it's a good deal or not? How do I make offers quickly? Well, we've got a software that we use called a quick analysis that will allow you to put in all the information that you have, all the numbers, and boop, in 5 minutes or less, you will know if it's a good return on investment if it suits your portfolio, if the cash flow suits your end goals, all of those things. We're going to spend quite a bit of time practicing analyzing deals because I want you to be super duper quick so you can make super fast offers. Not as quick as the computer is going to make, but those mom and pop sellers will be definitely impressed with your abilities to analyze deals.
Well, I have people all the time. They said, what's different from the information that you provide and what I can get out there on, websites like Bigger Pockets or, YouTube videos where you're watching this. And
speaking of YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to this channel.
Most of the time it's about the composition of the package, right? You can get bits and pieces different places, but it's about getting it all and it's about putting it together. I know so many people that have had a great business idea and they say, hey, I'm going to start a company. So they go to the Secretary of State website, they get an LLC, they open a bank account, they get some business cards and they say, I'm done. And then they realize, whoa, nobody said anything about liability insurance and commercial property insurance and this and that and what is sales and use tax and
and
all these different things.
They still don't know how to negotiate with sellers and get properties under contract.
So, that's what this does. In addition to the general information, in addition to how do I go through the process, what's it like, what terms do I need to know, how do I analyze properties, how do I make offers, you actually get the content. You get contracts, you get letters of intent. The quick analysis software that Whitney just talked about, in my opinion, is worth the price of admission alone. So you get everything in one comprehensive package. There are no stones left unturned. And, at the end of the day, you'll know everything you need to know to go apartment investing.
My favorite part of Apartment Blitz, though, is this man right here.
Thanks, babe.
Because that's the biggest kicker with Apartment Blitz versus just going out there and getting random strangers information. We do something called the Deal Makers Club in Apartment Blitz. And on the second Tuesday of every month, you can submit your seller lead sheets, your commercial seller lead sheets, to us, to Jason, and he will analyze your deals for you and help you see, this looks good, I'd ask about that, I'd question this looks off, what about this, did they forget that, did you see this, blah, 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 so that he will be with you every single month to help you analyze these deals and make sure that you're getting a good deal or a good deal for you versus a good deal for us versus a good deal for us versus a good deal for you. Like, it doesn't matter. But he will be with you to give you his opinion, his advice. He's analyzed hundreds of apartment complexes, and he is a wizard in this quick analysis software that we were talking about, and he will be there monthly. If you have any questions in between the Deal Makers Club, though, we have a Facebook group for Apartment Blitz, and there's people in there all the time posting questions, this and that and the other. I'll tell you right now, we have about 25 people already in Apartment Blitz, and that's so sweet to me to even think about, because a year and a half ago when we came out with First Deal Done Fast, we had 15 or 20 people. And now, 18 months later, there's 225 people in First Deal Done Fast. So I know that everybody that's getting into Apartment Blitz now, in another 18 months, there could very easily be 225 people in there. So don't you want to get in and get started while you still get so much individual attention? Yes. Yes, I think so. Go to apartmentblitz.com. Another thing about the Facebook group is I want to point out one last time that my husband is used to dealing with me. Okay?
I didn't make it any easier.
And with that in mind, I do want to say that Apartment Blitz was created for the lady landlord, for the female investor. Now, we got some dudes in Apartment Blitz, just like we got some fellas in First Deal Done Fast. But Apartment Blitz is, mostly women. learning how to bust into the good old boys club with somebody in the club who can also translate it to us. All right. And I've been there. I'm in the good old boys club like a lady, negotiating like a lady. But Apartment Blitz was made for you, for busy moms, for real estate agents trying to get passive income, for women who are working in their family business and they want to have some pride and do some things out on their own. Like, I've been there, girls. And because I've trained him on how to help me think and think properly through all of these scenarios and all these terminologies and all these things, he does a great job of leading Apartment Blitz and knowing that he's talking to women just like me and not dudes like him. All right. Apartment Blitz was made for the woman investor, for the lady landlord, and it is led by a man who is very used to dealing with a woman. Right, babe?
That's right.
Yes, dear?
Yes, dear.
All right, you got anything else you want to add? Oh, I do want to say that this video came out after the 2019 Apartment Blitz event, but we will have a 2020 event. I am not ready to announce where it will be, but it will be January 29th, 30th, and 31st of 2020. And it will be in Florida. I'm just not going to tell you which city it's in yet. And everybody...
Ooh, I know.
Shh. Oh. Don't give away all the secrets here. Everybody in Apartment Blitz, all the women in Apartment Blitz will get first dibs on joining us in Florida the end of January 2020, or maybe the end of January 2021 by the time you watch this video. I've already got 2021 planned. Anyway, you'll have first dibs on joining us at the live event, which, I mean, Jason can tell you, if I'm going to go learn anything, I want to go to the place where they're talking about it. The online videos are great. The online support is great. But there's nothing that can replace sitting in the room with 20 other women and learning and growing through all of these situations together. All right, so there's another reason to join Apartment Blitz. And you can get in right now, apartmentblitz.com. Go to the blue click here to join button and get started. Collect your $20,000 a month of passive income. Let's buy some big deals, girls. It's time to go big. And we're ready to help you in Apartment Blitz. Okay, now your turn. You got anything else you want to add?
Good.
Oh, wait. You really don't have anything else?
No, you've already interrupted me for the last time.
On this video.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Go to apartmentblitz.com. Get signed up. Get started with us. And then any other questions that you have, you're welcome to drop a comment down below this video, and we will try to come back and answer those questions for you. But for the most part, everything you need is on apartmentblitz.com.
No, there's not a try. If they will drop video comments here, once the video is released or whatever, we'll set up a couple of calls and make sure those get answered. We'll give it a week. So any question posed in the first week, we'll set up something a week from the time it comes out, and we'll answer those, and then we'll come back periodically and do it again.
Also, I put up 7 other videos on apartments and commercial real estate in the month of February 2019, and you can go check those out for free on YouTube. If you go to whitneynicely.com/TV, it will ask you to subscribe to my channel. All right? That's all I have to say. Subscribe to the She Buys It channel. Bye, y'all!